Hey, can we get you to introduce yourself actually, for the crowd, and then just to get like levels and stuff too?
Oh, most definitely. Hello, my name is Jay Jurden. I'm a New York City-based comedian, actor, writer, but most importantly, in regards to this live stream, I am a huge X-Men fan, both in any sort of media representation, but most recently, I think everyone has rededicated themselves to reading the the first text, to reading the comic books. The first time I ever picked up an X-Men comic book and remember what it was Gambit being left in the Arctic in the Savage Land. That was
Interesting.
the first time I ever picked up I would think it was a big holographic cover.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was sporadic, but over the past, I want to say close to 10 years, I've been very dedicated. Maybe more than 10 years. You forget. I feel like whenever you read X-Men, you start to have a sliding time scale.
You're in the Marvel sliding time scale universe,
You're like, no, what are you talking about? Second Coming was like 2 years ago. And you're like, nah, that was a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I didn't start actually, like, I realized, and I've talked about this too, like, House and Powers is the first time I've, like, collected ongoing X-Men comics.
Ooh.
I've certainly read much longer than that, but, like, I didn't really come to actually collecting ongoings until, like, actually, like, DC's New 52. For me was the thing, and for X-Men it was like, it was kind of a down period. There's good stuff in there, right? We always say, like, there's good comics in there, but I didn't actually feel like, oh hey, I need to buy X-Men now until House and Powers. So that's been pretty fun. Now I'm just getting absolutely everything.
I remember the summer of 2019. It was so crazy to go to Forbidden Planet and a couple of other shops in New York City and see how many people were like, no, you know what I'm here for.
Yeah, right. No, it was incredible. Yeah, like Wednesdays were just absolute madness, which is cool. All right, so we're seeing here, we'll get started here shortly. Looks like, let's see if we can do something with the audio potentially. I don't know how much I can do. What's going on? Okay. Thanks everybody for joining. We quite appreciate it. Again, we will get started here shortly with our live X-Men draft. Again, that we'll lay out a little bit of the ground rules, if you will, as non-specific as they are. Don't worry, it won't be too formal. All right. All right, let's dig into it. I'm going to do a quick intro, Jay, and then we can go ahead and get started, I think, and just have some fun talking X-Men. All right, so thanks everybody for joining. Hey, welcome to Krakin Krakoa number 155 live. I'm Dave Busing, the editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. Been doing Krakin Krakoa videos here on YouTube since House of X and Powers of 10 began in 2019. Now, it's kind of this amazing thing that we've realized over the last few months, but like technically we haven't had an X-Men team since House and Powers. Like it kind of like flew under the radar, and then it became increasingly apparent that like actually we don't have X-Men right now. So Hickman's X-Men is starting, and it is like he's going to have this election. So we saw in, I think it was X-Men number 16, there's going to be a Krakoan election of the X-Men. Now, there's been the fan vote going on over on Marvel.com, and I've got here on the stream, we're going to be picking our rosters for who we want on the team. I put in the 10 spot, okay? I've got Polaris locked in for the fan vote. Now, I don't know if that's like 100% official yet per that fan vote. I know that was definitely, there was a lot of back and forth about who do we want to see, but I've got Polaris kind of locked in. Like that fan vote spot is unchangeable as far as like our concerns are. Jay, who did you want in the fan vote?
I was a person that got really excited when I saw all of the weight of the internet thrown behind Tempo.
Yeah.
Because if we talk about chronomancers, people that can manipulate kind of, I guess, temporal energy, we only have her, Ava Bell, and I think Magic. Who else can manipulate time?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, it's not. Yeah, Magic is an interesting point too, because you see, like in the Zowell's New Mutants, Magic does that pretty successfully. But yeah, like time warping mutants are very fascinating because you have like your time travelers, right? You have Cable, you have Bishop, maybe you throw Shard in the mix or something like that. But yeah, Tempo, because that's not a character I super knew a lot about, because that's the fun of X-Men too, is like for as many
Sway,
comics.
that's what I was thinking of.
Sway, that's a good one. Yeah. No, but then when I looked at her power set and then looked at her background, I was like, oh, Tempo would be fascinating in Hickman's hands. Like that would be such a good character. So I'm still like Team Tempo. Like even if she doesn't win the fan vote, you know, like I still want that like audible to be like, hey, we kind of need her on the team. Everyone who likes X-Men comics is behind this.
Sebastian Shaw has been using her to age whiskey. It's very much using Storm to create ice cubes at a party and to start.
Yeah, exactly. A total waste. Okay, we're on the same page there for sure. Hey, as everybody's joining us here as we get into this draft, I just want to let you know that like definitely let us know what you think in the live chat. Make your picks, have a conversation, be polite and respectful and empathetic to one another. You know, so we don't have to do anything and stop this thing to deal with the chat. I don't expect that we will, but gotta say it. Also, if you like Krakin Krakoa, like what I'm doing here, you can use the super chat function, should be available, to donate a little, which is super generous and quite helpful. And then, you know, we will make sure to 100% get to those questions. Again, like we're doing a draft of the team here, but of course we can talk other things X-Men as we go. So, all right, I've got up on this Excel, I've got Team Jay, I've got Team Dave. Now, the way I thought we'd do this for the draft is we know the captains of the X-Men are Jean Grey and Cyclops, right? So I think, Jay, I'll let you go first. Who do you want to be the captain of your ship as we kind of formulate like an X-Men Blue and an X-Men Gold?
I want Jean to be my team captain.
Okay. That was my guess, but I didn't want to assume. Just from following you on Twitter, I was like, oh, probably Jean. Yeah. All right. So we got Jean for Jay. We got Cyclops for Dave. We got our team captains. Let's do this. And let's go into our picks. So again, Jay, what we'll do is I'll say, like, who do you want for your first pick? Then I'll do two. And then we'll go back to you. Are you a big fantasy football guy? Like, do you play regularly?
I played in a league last year, but I understand the breakdown. Luckily for the X-Men, we don't have to go by position.
Right, yeah. I don't know who the kicker of our team would be, but we don't have to worry about it. No, that's a good call. I thought it'd be really fun. So I played fantasy football for a long number of years, and I feel like it'd be super fun to do like an auction style draft, because the auction style, for those who are less familiar, is like basically like you bid on characters, you know. So like, and then like obviously like, you know, a Cyclops you're gonna want to bid a lot more because that character has value. I always thought that it would be fun in the comic space, but I have no idea how exactly you would make it work. Nonetheless, I do have metrics that I'm tracking here, particularly looking at Krakoan characters' popularity. So here are my factors. Let's talk like strategy right before we do it. My considerations are, who are the characters I dig? Who do I want to see Hickman write? And then who would actually win a vote on Krakoa, because it is a popularity contest in a lot of ways, right?
Ooh, yeah.
So that's like kind of where my head's at. What are you thinking mostly about as you put this team together?
So it does come down to who do I like, and then it comes down to, for this X-Men team, who would be okay for field missions. Like there are so many people on the island that I think are great for the island and great for like specific kind of like duties, but then there are some people I do not want to see in the field all the time. And there are some people that surprisingly, I think if I take into account their character history and everything I've seen about them so far, even though they haven't shown up a lot on Krakoa, I go, oh, I want to see them in the field more.
Yeah. That's definitely a big part for me too, is like, you know, certain characters that was kind of the debate around Polaris with X Factor, where it was like Polaris is leading a book. So I like that character. I love what Leah Williams is doing with her in X Factor. Now, it does, just because a team a character is put on the X-Men doesn't mean they can't be in another book. But definitely in my head, I'm like, who's not getting as much shine? Who's not getting as much spotlight, right? I feel like it does matter.
I also have a question. If Polaris gets in the X-Men and is she still going to live in the Boneyard? Because she, like, manipulates that house, that building.
Right, yeah. I feel like the answer is yes. Like, probably she stays on X Factor. But I guess that's a story, right? That's a thing they're going to have to navigate. I saw Leah Williams talking a little bit about this on Twitter, kind of saying, like, yeah, we know. Like, I'm not blindsided by this. Like, I have a story plan. So I'm confident, you know, they'll figure it out. But you're right, like, if the Boneyard just falls apart when she joins the X-Men, that's a problem. So, all right. So, and then the other piece that I do want to say to people listening is, so for the Krakoan election, what we know from the Hickman written X-Men number 16 is no one from the Quiet Council is eligible. Okay, so that limits. And what I realized putting this list together too is like, man, most of my favorite mutants are on the Quiet Council. Like, so many of my faves are already taken, are already off the
You're
board.
an Exodus guy like me.
Huge. Well, I love Hickman. Clearly digs Exodus, so I'm like, yes, let's play into this character's past because he was like a big Mike Carey focus in that run. But yeah, so Quiet Council's off the table. I think you and I are both of the same mindset that the 5 are almost certainly off the table. You know, I don't know if that's formal, but like, how would that work?
I think is it protect the 5 is one of the tenets or like one of the big mantras.
Yeah. Yeah, so they got to protect the 5 for sure. And then what was my other thing? I think that's it. Oh, and then I am making Morocco mutants eligible. Okay, so we can pick from Morocco. The consideration there, though, is how would they get a popular vote on Krakoa? Like I don't think
they just got there.
They just got there. Like Iska the Unbeaten is not running campaigns, despite the fact that. I mean, she'd be like my number 1 or number 2 pick, just in terms of like who I want to see on this team. But okay, so they're eligible, but we do have to take that into consideration. So all right, all that out of the way, I think we can do it. Jay, who is your number 1 pick?
Oh, my number 1 pick. I feel so excited. My number 1 pick is Oya.
Who?
It's Oya.
Oya. Okay. Okay, all right, what's the rationale?
So the rationale is a couple of factors. I want someone who I feel like would be popular on Krakoa. She was popular at the Jean Grey Academy.
Yeah.
She was popular among her peer group when she was one of the Lights. Cyclops respects her. Jean doesn't know her as well, but I feel like she's a very popular young character. She's also kind of fallen into character limbo. And as a pyrokinetic and a cryokinetic, I feel like that is a bit of a waste if you have, I want to say like the 3rd most important temperature manipulator on the island just not doing anything. Right.
That's a great pick. I love that as the number 1 pick. That's a deep cut, I think, that a lot of fans like will literally have to look up. Now, for those of you who are less familiar with Oya, I think you could run it back to like, I remember the character debuting probably towards the end of the Matt Fraction on Uncanny X-Men, so probably circa like Second Coming, I would say, like 2010, and then into like the Kieran Gillen run. She plays a major role, but that's a great pick. I love it. Number 1 pick, man. I feel like most people are like, you know, thinking Wolverine. You're coming in with Oya. I love it. I got to dig deep now.
Well, all right. My strategy is take who you think will also make people go, oh, well, then I need to change everything.
Yeah, no. And I think, too, like, one thing to consider with this roster, and I love the way you started it, is, like, it's a new era, right? It's Krakoa. It's a new, where this is the break all the rules X-Men era. Like, we don't have to do the same squads. And I think that's why we saw some disappointment around, like, Banshee doing super well, or, like, even, like, Polaris, where it's like, we're familiar with these characters, you know? We know what they bring to the table. Now, that said, some of my characters are going to have plenty of history, including my number 1 pick, which is my favorite current Wolverine, Laura Kinney. I got Laura Kinney, number 1. She's coming. Now, here's my rationale for Laura Kinney. 1, just obviously, like, super strong, you know, incredible power set, can hold her own, is a fascinating character, especially post Tom Taylor written All New Wolverine. Like, this character really grew into something special. I love her relationship with Gabby. I love her as, like, a legacy character taking on the mantle of Wolverine, but then sharing it, you know, in the way that, like, Kate Bishop can with Clint Barton and Hawkeye, where that's fun, you know? Like, oh, good job, Hawkeye. Thanks, Hawkeye, right? They can do that with Logan. I love that. And I also think Laura coming up out of the vault, is we haven't read it yet, right? It's coming. She's coming back from the vault. I feel like that has the potential to set her up as, like, an icon, essentially. Like, look at our hero returning from the vault, coming back to Krakoa. I feel like that could help her in an election. Now, that's assuming she hasn't been, like, converted to the Children of the Vault or something, right? This could go totally awry.
A very, very smart way to give her close. What we're thinking? 500 years of battle experience.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, the time that like her, Sink, and Darwin have spent there is totally up in the air. And they're going to come back. Yeah, like you said, like they're going to have just hundreds of years of experience or something happens. I'm completely fascinated to find out. So yeah, that's my number one pick is Laura Kinney. My number two pick is I'm gonna go. So like when I was making this list, I was like, all right, who would I just want to see? And I kind of mentioned like I had Iska the Unbeaten super high. I have Legion super high, but I don't see Legion doing well in a mutant vote. I just don't see him being popular.
Doing well in a mutant vote, and the Sinister Secret was like, girl, where is he?
Yeah, right. So I feel like that's probably going to get handled in the Cy Spurrier written Way of X, because that writer has familiarity with the character from his X-Men legacy. I think some of the previews have maybe teased that as well. So all right, so I'm going to jump ahead. Actually, this is my number 6th like ranked character, but I think will do well, and I think Hickman is super focused on them. It's Doug Ramsey, Cypher.
Oh, so smart.
So I'm going Doug. Hickman has shown so much interest in Doug's abilities and his language processing. We see it in House of X number 1. We see that he's got secrets with Warlock in impacting the Krakoan island. We saw in Giant Size Storm that Doug knows things that no one knows about what's happening in the Hickman verse. You know, he knows about this mysterious sentient whatever that was created in not the vault. What's it called? The world.
The world.
Yeah. So I think Doug is like a central Hickman favorite. I think he's, again, like kind of to your point, not great in the field, but maybe Doug is the central intelligence that kind of runs processing and strategy for the team. Maybe he can evolve to that instead of, because obviously like Doug in the field is that's his whole deal in New Mutants in the 80s is like, hey, that's not the best idea. Is like running him out there unprotected. So that's my number 2 pick. And Xavier pointing out in the live chat here, Doug is in the council. Points on that.
Doug is technically the voice for Krakoa. That's a nice asterisk point out.
I gotta asterisk this pick. I don't know if that's gonna fly. That's a really good call out. All right, I might have to rethink that one.
I know he was available for field missions and for the Tournament of Swords.
Right, he did get to go in X of Swords. So
and he's on 2 field missions.
Yeah.
Mastermind and the Cure for Storm in Giant Size.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. I don't know what to make of this. Wow. All right, I'm put on my heels immediately. Jay, who do you got number 2?
Oh, this number 2 pick, I wanted to think strategically. I also wanted to think about what teams like to have. We look at this from a RPG standpoint. So I wanted a tank, but then I also wanted someone that I know Hickman is just like very excited to write. I am going to put Colossus on a team.
Sweet.
And I feel like we've seen Jean be very aware of Colossus's trauma and his PTSD in X-Force. And I feel like Jean would be respectful of Peter, but also he needs to be doing something. I don't think he just needs to be gardening right now.
Right. I think that is a super fair call out. That's a great pick. Yeah, Colossus, longtime X-Men, but also like, what is his role in Krakoa? You know, we need to see like what is he going to be doing? Because in X-Force, it also, like you said, Jean was like, all right, let's get him on X-Force, let's get him doing something. But that kind of feels insufficient. Plus, just with the baggage of what Beast did to him, the Russian perp walk through everyone. I feel like, I don't know, if I'm Colossus, I'm like, no, forget that. Like, I want nothing to do with the Beast side of things, let's get me on X-Men.
And we get him on a no-kill team. We get him, because that's the problem, I think, since the Mutant Massacre. When Colossus kills someone, he feels so guilty that it wrecks him for years.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great pick. There's a lot to do with that character. All right, cool. Colossus is your number 2. I'm going to take Doug out of my lineup, okay, per this Quiet Council question, because I feel like that's a fair call out, and I'm going to replace with Doug's wife, Bay the Blood Moon. All right. So we're bringing in Bay. Let's do it. Let's get our. This is the only. To me, it's the only possible Araco pick. Okay, because like Bay's the only one who's living on Krakoa. You know, so there's a little positive like goodwill there. They had a honeymoon, a celebration, right, with Doug, and that was in New Mutants number 15. This does allow us more communication with Doug in the book, because it's his wife, who he's madly in love with. You know, like this immediate. You know, it reminds me of like Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom, like were dating for like 3 weeks and they got married. Which bad example, I guess, given the way that played out. But
it reminds me a little of Big Barda and Scott. I see a Mr. Miracle. I love this strong, tall woman.
Yeah.
Vibe.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that.
You also know what you just did, Dave? Because of Bay the Blood Moon, you just put your entire team kind of in mental synchronicity without having to talk, because of that kind of like that extended power set of hers where she can't talk, but when she's around people, they know what they want to say and they communicate almost like quasi-telepathically.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that, but right, because Bay kind of has the mini Black Bolt vibe going on, right? Then it's like, yeah, you need that. I'm going to need a telepath here, I think, but also like get this team in sync. Plus, Bay's just like obviously a warrior who's going to do well in battle here. So I'm into that. I do want to call out here before I go to my number 3 pick. Thank you, Russell Green, for the super chat here. Says, love your channel and positive attitude. My number 1 pick is Frenzy, which I do dig that pick a lot. I actually had a hard time with anyone on Sword, with any character that has now made an appearance in the Al Ewing written and Valeria Sheedy drawn Sword, because I love that book so much. I kind of don't want to mess with it. Like, I kind of don't want to mess with any of the characters that are in Sword right now. I don't know. I just don't want to shake it up.
I love Sword. Sword is doing some things that I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
When it comes to mutant circuits, when it comes to Whiz Kid, when it came to Peepers.
Peepers, yeah.
Oh my God, that panel where Magneto sees Peeper and calls him by his non-mutant name, because the last time I think we saw him, he was devoured by a Predator X.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like it's the characters that he's pulling from. Ewing has an amazing ability to pull from like history in very fun ways. Peepers is a great example of that. The stuff he just did with Mentalo is another. But yeah, so Frenzy is a great pick. I am looking forward to a lot more from that character as well. But okay, my number 3 pick. Now here's where I think the Krakoa era gets super interesting. And a big piece of this is we have all mutants, right? It's important that we acknowledge that the X-Men now doesn't have to be the quote-unquote heroes of the Marvel Universe. Now, I think in terms of popularity, those are the characters that are going to do the best. But my number 3 pick, I think, is not going to do amazingly well in popularity, but does have like a history and maybe just kind of like a surprise support, a groundswell support of villains. It is Selene. I think Selene. Ooh. Yeah, I think she's a very interesting character. What she does too is she fills in that Apocalypse role that we had Hickman drawing from in the earlier issues, right, up through Ten of Swords. And now we have another character, another mutant who's been around for centuries, who knows, and also again, just like has historically been on the quote-unquote villain side of things to kind of balance out, you know, the do-gooders of mutant kind. So I don't know exactly where Selene's pulling these votes from. I feel like wiping out the externals, like I don't know if that helps or hurts her, but I would love to see Selene on this roster.
Am I frozen on the stream?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like,
what's going on?
Moved or smiled.
Let's see. Are you good on your end? You can see yourself?
I'm good on my end.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I can turn my video off. Apart from calling back in, I'm not totally sure what options I have. Let's
It's a good freeze frame of me, so I'm fine with it.
It could be more awkward, I will admit. Yeah. Let's see.
Celine?
Let me try one thing. I'm going to take you out of the stream real quick, and we'll keep our call going, but then I'll add you back in, and we'll see if that does anything. All right?
With Celine, you also get, okay, so if it's Cyclops, Wolverine, Babe, and Celine, Dave, what you've done is you've established a team that knows a lot. And so Cyclops is going to have to be like, I know you guys know a lot. But I know a lot. Because Celine has been around for so long.
Yeah.
That's, from a writing standpoint, you want to read that book because it's people that know everything. And because, like, I think Laura might defer to Cyclops and be like a super respectful second in command because they have the memories from like when they were younger, when they're kind of time displaced memories too. But that would be so fun to read.
I think so as well. I dig it. And I love your justification for my picks. That's making me feel so good about the team I'm putting together.
I mean, also these are some powerful picks. Some very powerful picks.
Oh, okay, thank you. So who you got? Who you got number 3?
My number 3 is someone that, and this is I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this person. We've seen them a few times, and I don't know where it's all headed, but I do know that they're going to need someone that they trust and someone that they respond to well around them.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just like it's a person who can put a collar on this very, very, very powerful Omega level mutant. My third pick is Vulcan. Gabriel Summers.
Love it.
Him on the team with his brother is interesting. Him on a team with his sister-in-law is captivating to me. Yeah.
That's a fantastic pick. Given Hickman's interest in the character, I feel like almost a lock. A lock that's going to be a character he wants here. Plus, like you said, powerhouse, makes sense in the field, needs to be given something to do, and just like there are plans for this character. We've
definitely wins a popular vote because he throws drunken orgies on the moon.
Right? Gotta be a big hit these days. Like, who else is inviting everyone up to Summer's house for these drunken orgies? It's Vulcan. Yes, fantastic pick. I love it, and I feel like probably, like, to my mind, like the biggest lock of anyone we've had so far, aside from the captains. I just feel like one thing that was interesting. So, like, Hickman's X-Men has been so Summers family focused to date. So I kind of, it made me wonder, like, is Rachel, is Vulcan, is maybe even Cable, like, how much of a lock are they? Because he's had so much fun doing like his X-Men has been like kind of like Cyclops and the Summers family, almost a solo. Like, if you called it that, it wouldn't sell as well, but that's kind of what the book has been. So I wonder how much of that he's willing to give up. And I feel, Vulcan's for sure going to be here. Your team's looking good. We got Oya, Colossus, and Vulcan. All right, so this is going to throw it to me for pick number 4. And let's see. I had Vulcan as my number 10. I have Rachel Summers as my number 9, but I'm actually going to jump it, and I'm going to get a little weird. We're going to put Dupe on the team. We're going to get in Dupe.
Okay. Dave, this is Hickman era shit in the most positive way.
I love Dupe. I'm a huge X-Statix fan. I've got some other X-Statix elites on my list here of who I want to pick, but Dupe in particular, he's a favorite of mine because the character is so strange. They speak, first off, like, what does Hickman love more than some cryptography, right? Than a made-up language. Give me that made-up Dupe language. Give me that silly, strange green mutant who just has these wild abilities. Put Dupe on this team, please. I would love to see it. And then we get our X-Statix callbacks. And the more I can recommend people read that X-Force into X-Statix run by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred, the happier I am as a person who talks about X-Men. So I'm loving Dupe. It's a weird pick, I know that, but I really want to see him on a team. Okay, any team will do.
Wow, that is Okay, so I'm looking at the teams and Cyclops Cyclops being so clean cut, well, and maybe not boring, but definitely Boy Scout-ish.
Yeah.
This team is hilarious. The amount of memes this would produce.
Right? Yeah. And I feel like with Scott, it's like, yeah, put him on his heels, make things weird for him, because he likes order. Like, he likes order, and this team would be chaotic, I think, so far.
I love the chaos. It's making me. It's like, I'm trying to think of the best way. It's very, very good, and so you're like, oh, I want this book.
Yeah. That's the hope, right? Yeah, like put together a unit that feels like anything can happen. That's the dream for me. All right, Jay, who do you got for your number 4?
Okay, at number 4, I think because we're bumping some people up, and we also want to have some established characters, and we don't necessarily know. I guess from a storytelling standpoint, we don't necessarily want it to be, oh, who is this? So it's an easy pick. I feel like more people should play with this character. It's not. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. It's not out there and crazy, and I know that they are currently busy doing things, but I want Moonstar on the team.
Yeah. Yep. That to me is one of my leaders in the popularity category, because I do think like you got to get the young vote, right? Like who do the young mutants of Krakoa look up to and respect? And I think Danny Moonstar, as we've seen, especially in the last couple issues of the Vita Ayala and Rod Rice written New Mutants, Danny's number 1 in that category, I think, for sure.
And New Mutants to me, I feel like the New Mutants have graduated. So New Mutants can't be just about the New Mutants anymore. New Mutants have to include the Academy X kids. They have to include the Wolverine and the X-Men kids. They have to include the Lights. They have to include any people that were introduced after those 3 iterations. They have to include the Hellions, the Massachusetts Academy kids. Like, New Mutants, I love Danny, I love Sunspot, I love Cannonball, and I love Karma and Ileana, but they have to graduate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like they're in a new like a stage in their X careers, and that's been a thing that like Marvel writers have in some degree struggled with, but I think now it's like I think Vita's really found an excellent role for them too, because it's like they are educators now, right? They are not the students, and that is a new position of influence. And we saw in that book too, like someone has to be the voice of that generation, sticking up to like Professor X, and that's been Danny, where she's like, hey, like these kids don't have a school to go to, like they aren't learning anything, like that's a huge miss. I feel like Danny really calls that stuff out. I actually think she's an interesting candidate for like the Quiet Council for the like if they fill in those seats. Yeah, I just think like she speaks for that group in a way that kind of no one is doing. But I think like, yes, love her on the X-Men team. I'm going to respond to the chat real quick. So, all right, my mic is a bit hot. I can turn down my gain a little bit. I think I usually come in quiet is the thing, so I've got it cranked. People let me know in the chat if it's like, a problem. Yes, we are aware that Jay's video is frozen. Unfortunately, it happened on the Skype, so there's nothing I can do about it right now, aside from like, I don't want to have to like hang up, try again. It will lose like 10 minutes. So if we're okay, Jay, I do apologize for that. I wish I had a solve.
I can do this though. I think I can do. I just turned my video off.
Yeah.
And then I just turned my video back on.
Oh,
yay!
That might do it. Okay. All right. Cool. We got one tech solution down. We're killing it. I got just to compliment ourselves. Solving tech problems on the fly, drafting amazing X-Men teams. Jay, I love what's happening here. All right, Danny is on your team. Cool. Let's have you do a number 5 too, because my snake order is all messed up here. I don't think this is following fantasy football protocols. But let's have you do number 5 back to back.
My number 5 pick is someone that just lost a very important friend. I feel like this person also needs to graduate. This person has stealth for infield missions. They have strength. They have regenerative properties. They're also a good pick as far as if we're looking at a world that looks closer to the world that we exist in now.
Yeah.
If you haven't guessed, you probably could tell from the first hint. It's a Knoll.
A Knoll.
I want a Knoll on the team. We fill a couple of spots. Spider-Man-esque level power set.
Yeah.
We get some really cool. We get some really cool interaction between him and people that we don't get to see him with the exception of Oya, really.
Yeah.
And we also get someone who I think can hold their own. Time and time again, we've seen if a Knoll goes into battle, a Knoll's going to come out alive, okay, and probably with like a new, stronger arm.
Right, yeah, which is huge. Plus, a Knoll gets you that Academy X support, right, which we saw in X Factor number 5. Is super huge, right? Like that's a group of like a whole generation of mutants that are often.
Get him away from the Shadow King. That's the other thing. Get
right?
him away from Farouk.
So,
I don't want it.
I love it. Yeah, no, whatever's going on with Amal Farouk is fascinating. I would love Amal Farouk on this X-Men team, but then I was like, seemingly no one knows he's there, and who would vote for him? Like, you'd have to be just a monster. But I think it'd be like really well written by Hickman. Okay, a Knoll. I dig it. I'm super into that. I'm gonna go a similar route, but not quite as young. I'm gonna go Magic. Okay, we need to get a more established character on my roster. We need to get an ally to Cyclops, obviously from their Uncanny X-Men, written by Bendis days, their Avengers vs. X-Men, Phoenix 5 days. These are characters who are close. Cyclops needs a second in command. We saw how close they are in Ten of Swords even. I do wonder now, like, we have 2 captain commanders, or not captain commanders, we have 2 captains on this roster. I'm not totally sure what the Krakoan captain situation is, because we lost Gorgon, right? And I feel like, and this is something I talked about in the Hellions review, number 9, I won't spoil anything, but other than to say, like, Quiet Council needs bodyguard. Like, they don't have one at the moment. And that's an issue,
I think, so we have Magic as a captain, Bishop as a captain, Cyclops as captain commander. Cable seems like he's being groomed to be one of the captains. Danny seems like she's an unofficial captain.
Danny would make a lot of sense there as well. Yeah, like I guess that's kind of where I'm netting out. Danny needs a promotion. Danny's ready for a promotion. I don't know what form it takes.
You smart. Easily answers the question. How does a team get around? You have some fun elements of like what happens. Now we have 2, possibly 3, possibly 4 Magic adjacent characters, because I guess alien magic is still magic on your team.
Sure, yeah.
That's good. I like that. I like that pick a lot. So am I up?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so my number 6 pick for the team, I want to pick a bad guy because you've already kind of revealed your bad guy.
Yeah.
I think that this bad guy has become a bit of a fan favorite after an event that happened in the past 2 years. I'm going to pick Fred Dukes, the Blob.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I want to put the Blob on an X-Men team because right now he's just tending the bar in the Green Lagoon. We've seen that the Blob can be a lovable character from the Age of X-Men run kind of event. We've also seen that you can never have too many battle-tested tanks, so I want to kind of have like a backup tank for Colossus. So yeah, the Blob, and it'll be fun riding. And he's different than all of these, but he has a very long history with Colossus and with Jean.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, Blob was super high on my list as well because he's the bartender of the Green Lagoon. Like who is more popular right now than the local Krakoan bartender? Like dude's got it in the bag if he wants it. And like you said, that Age of X-Men Extremist book written by Leigh Williams was such a shockingly good book and really recharacterized Blob, Fred J. Dukes, to make him super likable. which is something I had not really seen before. Because Blob is a villain I always was kind of fascinated by, but he is very stuck bad guy, with Freedom Force in the 80s and even in the early Uncanny X-Men stuff. Whereas now he's fascinating. I think he's going to add so much like chemistry and character to your team as this sort of like already kind of reformed villain, like he's ready. He's ready for his time on the X-Men, I think.
And if we, without getting too kind of preachy, you want like a comic book character that isn't like super ripped. You want a comic book character that drinks. You want a comic book character that will raise his hand and say, "Why are we doing this again?"
Right. Okay. Right, for sure. No, and so we have Xavier here in the chat again, calls out that Team J is Team Smile, Team Dave is Team Brooding, which I think is pretty fair. I didn't do that intentionally, but I think you're right. Like your team definitely, like that's definitely the fun X-Men book. And then with
the exception of Colossus will bring it down.
He's a brooder. He's a big time brooder for sure. Yeah, he'll balance them out with some psychodrama. No, that's good. All right, so let's keep it going here with my number 6, and this one's getting tricky for me. I gotta say, if I stay on theme, I go one way. If I want to go elsewhere, I'm actually going to change it up here a little bit. This one doesn't fit my theme that I just called out, but I'm going to put Rogue on the team.
Woo!
And Rogue, classic, longtime X-Man, right, has been with the team for so long, well-known character. I've been saying it for a while. I would like to see Rogue and Gambit kind of off of Excalibur. I don't think that's a great fit for them. I kind of don't know what their role is there. I think we get Rogue onto the X-Men. It's a chance for a fresher start for both books. So I would love to see Anna Marie go with this X-Men roster. I think she's gonna start to bring in more of that X-Men hero feel, which my lineup is missing currently. To be like, this is how we do things when Bay the Blood Moon, Selene, and even like Magic are at humankind's throat, right? Like, which is inevitably going to happen. So I
see the dialogue between Selene saying, "Oh, so it's a big deal when I absorb people's energy, but not when you do it." And Rogue,
yeah,
I ask permission.
Exactly. They can balance out how things should be handled. All right, cool. So I'm good with Rogue. Let's go to you for number 7 here. So you got Oya, Colossus, Vulcan, Danny Moonstar, Anole, and Blob. This is a really interesting team, all led by Jean Grey.
And I think that being led by Jean Grey makes me think that the team, because we haven't seen a lead of team since X-Men Red, and we kind of, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which was a great book. I really dug X-Men Red.
So we know that she's capable of leading a team, and we also know that she's capable of making people work for the greater good.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick someone that you said earlier that I think will push Jean a little bit. I'm going to pick Iska the Unbeaten.
Love it.
And I think that the reason why Iska will win the popularity contest is because she can't lose. If Iska puts her name in the Goblet of Fire, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? If Iska does it, so it shall be. And I think that the way that your team is going to kind of push Scott a little bit, we need someone who is new to Krakoa to push Jean.
Yeah.
There's that super famous panel where Monet or M or Penance says, "Try harder, Marvel Girl." And I want to see moments like that in an X book where someone says, "Why do you get to tell us what to do?"
Right. And Iska brings that perspective so well. I love it so much. That's such a good way of explaining how Iska wins. Because I was like, how does, because nobody knows her, right? All she's done so far is amazingly stand up to Professor X and Magneto, right? But like people haven't seen that. But yeah, like your team just became unbeatable, which is incredible. And to your point,
if Iska feels like doing the mission, Iska will be. The idea of a team being a team is is fun because there are going to be some people that say, I don't want to do that mission.
Yeah, right.
So if Iska's on the mission, maybe there's less of a word. But if Iska says, I have to handle this first, they still have to send people out.
Yeah, and Iska gives Hickman and the creative team such interesting challenges too, because like that's it's something I referenced a bunch, but like with Secret Wars, in the build, like Valeria Richards will write to Reed Richards like, hey, you can't win. The trick is how not to lose, and just these creative ways of like kind of dealing in gray areas, dealing in moral challenges, where like, all right, if Iska can't lose, how can she not win, right? Like, what is the flip side of that? What is the reverse to make it so it's not just obvious and it's not just a given all the time? Or to your point, if Iska's just like, no, I don't care about protecting your humans, I'm not going on this mission, and stuff like that becomes the challenge.
Yeah. And because I think that the X-Men will like Iska. There's that moment at the dinner between her, Magic, and I want to say, is it Doug? Where they're like marveled by her power set.
They're like testing her, yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I think she'll be a hit. I love bringing her onto a team. Your team's looking good, looking good, and looking unbeatable with Iska. All right, I'm gonna have to step up in these last few picks. My number 7 is this is a tricky one because I think I'm gonna play 7 safe, and then I'm gonna get rogue again with my last 2 picks. My number 7 is gonna be Rachel Summers, and I think we need another Summers on the team. Like I said, I think we want to keep exploring the family dynamics. I really want another strong telepath. Okay, I want a super strong telepath on the team. So we're gonna bring in Rachel, and she pulls all that. Now I think like we'll keep Rachel in X Factor, I think, but she hasn't had a super huge role in that book to date anyway. So I feel like she can pull double duty. I feel like she can be X Factor investigations when needed and also be on the X-Men team. And then this gives us a heavy hitter with some powers. And again, I really like Dad Cyclops. I really enjoy Cyclops getting to be a dad, and Rachel allows that without messing with Cable anymore, who Cable's spread a little thin, I think, right now. He's on Sword, he's got his own book, he's popping up at X-Men occasionally. I don't want to spread Cable too thin, so we'll go with Rachel instead.
Good. I like that. I have a pick that I'm excited about because I don't know what we have been doing missing this character, but I want to pick a speedster, technically, whose primary power is electrical manipulation. So I want to pick Surge.
Yes. Awesome. All right.
An Academy character who, once again, because there's so many X-babies now, there's so many kind of Academy X kids that have been resurrected or that are currently going through the Crucible to get their powers back, or that are kind of being investigated as far as like, where are they?
Yeah.
That we need. And Surge was kind of being groomed to be team leader. It was really, you say Academy X, but it really was Hellion Prodigy and Surge leading a team. And then Pixie got very popular, but those were the big four from that kind of peer group. So I want to pick someone who can get places fast, but also someone who has a couple of ranged attacks and a person to be there for a null. Yeah, dig it.
Surge is a great pick. I think a pretty popular pick too, kind of like you're saying. Like, there's a lot of Surge support. I think, yes, that's a type of character that could get selected via the Krakoan popularity contest. Now, another one that I'm going to dip back into the villain well just a little bit here with a character that I think is going to be gaining popularity because of their role in the Krakoan Crucible. Okay, Crucible it's a massive thing in X-Men right now. It's the key to restoring mutant abilities, but it's also, like, as far as we know, their one sport. like this is their one entertainment event, is going to see Crucible, like the Roman gladiators. So I'm going with the master of ceremonies, Silver Samurai.
Wow.
We're going to throw Silver Samurai into the mix. Again, it's like a character who's been classified as, again, quote-unquote villain, but is substantially more nuanced, substantially more complex than that. I think Silver Samurai has some groundswell support and also will be a very interesting character in Hickman's hands. I think pairing Silver Samurai with Laura Kinney, the successor to Wolverine, who has often been the nemesis of Silver Samurai, is an interesting relationship as well. And I think, too, just like we're loaded with warriors with this lineup. We got Laura Kinney, we got Bay, we got Silver Samurai, we got Magic, we got a lot of swords flying around. And honestly, like, despite X of Swords being very good, in many ways, it actually didn't deliver on sword content as much as I needed. so I'm going to roll with Silver Samurai. All right?
Oh, last picks.
Last picks, because we're locking in that fan vote. Now, again, I don't know if you've seen this, Jay. I don't know if Polaris is official or not. But if she is, it does kind of make me second guess taking Rachel out of X Factor. I kind of don't love hammering an existing roster quite that much, but nonetheless, like, that's like my Polaris / fan vote. I mean, I think all indications are if it's not Polaris in that fan vote slot, it's going to be Banshee probably. Yeah. Again, which kind of a bummer. I'd rather it was Tempo, but there's no real bad answers.
I can deal with Banshee if we figure out. No, I can't actually. His daughter is more interesting, and his cousin has become more, his cousin has become more interesting. Black Tom,
yeah,
had such an elevated status.
Mm-hmm.
He's like one of. I wish there was not necessarily a book, but just a data page about Mondo, Black Tom, Doug, and I guess R.I.P. Rockslide, about people who have to be intimate with Krakoa.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. Yeah, I would love. X-Force has done X-Force has done a pretty decent job at this, but just that dig into like Black Tom, like what is his life like now? Because it seems like he's in pain all the time. Like it seems like being that connected to Krakoa kind of sucks. He's a really interesting character in that regard. But yeah, you're right. Like Banshee's family right now, Black Tom's Siren, with what's going on with her and X Factor, like they have a lot more interesting things than Banshee's a character I like. But I said this,
Dave, and his ex has
yes, exactly. Like Banshee's network is the most interesting thing for sure. All right, so
okay,
let's hear it. Number 9 pick.
There are two ways this could go. It could go this idea of parody, and I love Dave's team, so I had one character in mind, but then I changed that character when I saw Dave selected a character because I want to see this dynamic play out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to guess, if you were like, oh, what would it look like? But okay, so this is what I'll say. I'll say we need someone who can combat the biggest threat to mutant kind right now, mm-hmm. in a way that I don't think enough people are thinking about. So I was going to change this pick. I was going to go, let's do Gambit. So Rogue's on the team, Gambit's on the team, Jean's on the team, Cyclops is on the team.
Yep.
We have like 2 couples split up, but it makes sense. We look at the classic gold and blue teams from the Jim Lee era run. We have a little bit of reference points for that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hickman is weird. I want to be weird. And the biggest threat to mutant life right now isn't going to be humans. It's artificial intelligence. We just saw this in Hellions. We keep seeing it. We saw it throughout the Powers of 10 and House of X run. Someone needs to handle this damn artificial intelligence. And the man for the job is someone who can do it, but also is going to feel terrible about doing it. Madison Jeffries.
Yes.
I'm putting Madison Jeffries on the X-Men. A guy who wants to have sex with robots.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm putting him on the X-Men. And then Polaris.
And then we're locked in with Polaris. Madison Jeffries, that's a great pick. I was looking at Madison Jeffries because that's a very interesting character right now for all the reasons you just outlined. Again, he has romantic feelings towards Danger, who we don't really know like Danger is a longtime X-Men ally, maybe not technically a mutant, like maybe a mutated version of Shi'ar artificial intelligence, but certainly not X-gene positive. So like, is Danger allowed on Krakoa? That's a whole thing that we haven't got into. Madison Jeffries is a great pick, a perfect fit for, like what do we do with Nimrod? What do we do for Sentinels? You get the artificial intelligence expert on the scene, and like you said, is going to hate every second of it because like Madison Jeffries loves robots, literally. So it's going to be a tricky thing. I love that pick. Okay, amazing. So all right, so your team is Oya, Colossus, Vulcan, Danny Moonstar, Anole, Blob, Iska the Unbeaten, Surge, Madison Jeffries, and then the winner of the Polaris fan vote, led by Jean Grey. I'm kind of picturing in my head now like the promotional posters of like get to know your new X-Men lineup, and I love seeing this team lined up all on paper, especially too just for like sales purposes, just for like this is really going to bring people in. Like our teams are pretty weird, and I love that.
If Marvel does the silhouette challenge, they definitely would do the thing where they put like Madison Jeffries in like the boxed suit, so you still would know what that silhouette was.
Yeah.
And I think they'd probably like do a really good job of being like Jean first, then Colossus, and then people are like, oh, this team is from the '90s, and then like they'd like do a good promotion of it. But yeah.
Or they're just all like it's just Blob silhouette, and they're all behind him.
It's Blob in front of all of them.
Yeah, they're all like just kneeling behind him. Love it. Okay, we are getting a couple super chats here back to back. I got to call out. Thanks so much for your support, everybody. I really appreciate everybody hopping on. This has been a lot of fun to do as I prep for my last pick here. One comment here: we have the Crucible should be moved to Arakko for the level up in power. That is an interesting idea, because we know Arakko resurrections are different, right?
They get mean. They just don't get stronger.
They get mean too. Yeah, you're right. Like that, and that's. I feel like that would worry the Quiet Council a lot because it's like people are less controllable. They're less open to the ideas. It's funny. I feel like Arakko is like letting Krakoans go visit there is like letting your 12-year-old on YouTube. Like you don't know, like you can't control like the messaging they're gonna get. Like it's kind of dangerous. Like the way their minds might start melding towards the Arakan mission. I do like that idea though, and we also have the comment here. No Inferno babies yet. This is garbage.
I could have picked Scab or whatever.
Yeah, the Zebwells, the rejuvenated Inferno babies. Honestly, if Hickman just dropped on us, like, yeah, my team is all the Inferno babies, I mean, I'd be so into that. That would be incredible.
I want to see on the map in the Academos habitat where the Inferno babies are being kept, and if Magic is the only person that can visit them. Right?
Yeah. No, that would be awesome. I feel like there's not a ton of information right now about who specifically lives in which regions, with the exception of, I guess, like Academos has the most, because we've seen probably the most of just like hanging out in their space of those mutants, of the young mutants, and like we know the different houses based on like the generations they grew up with. But aside from like Summer's house, I feel like we don't get a ton of like, I don't know. Like I want more data pages, I guess, in terms of like who lives where, what are neighborhoods like in this region,
A book full of data pages. That's what we want.
Give me those data pages of maps of neighborhoods. All right, awesome. So, okay, your team's looking good. My number 9 pick, this is a really tough one because I have, man, it's so tough. I thought 10 might be kind of a stretch. I was like, maybe we'll cut it at 8. No, like getting to 10 is, I'm like, man, I want to do like 20 more. I really liked Hellion. I think would be my Academy X number 1 pick. I think he would do pretty well here. I like the idea of, again, bringing in like Tyke Alucard, aka Anarchist, from X-Statix. But again, I already got Dupe, so I'm like, do I want to double dip in X-Statix? I don't know. I think, let's see, I kind of need, so here's one thing I'll say. I think there's 2 characters that I think are a lock to win a popularity contest if they really play into like who would win here. I think it is Dazzler and Lila Cheney. Are like absolute guarantees, because Like they're the pop culture favorites, right? Like these are your musicians, your lead singers of your Krakoan music scene of mutant music, as we've seen Franklin Richards talk about. Like, and I want more on like what is mutant music? What does that sound like?
And they're like rehearsing in the X Factor issue that just came out. Siren missed rehearsal, so they're doing this regularly.
Yeah, right. So like, yeah, they're putting on shows, and we saw them performing at Doug and Bay's ceremony in the Green Lagoon. Like, I feel like these concerts are happening somewhat regularly. So I feel like Dazzler and Lila, they're going to be on this team. I'm just not going to pick them because I don't know. I have other favorites. I kind of think Warlock is a lock. I kind of think Warlock is. We need something done with this character. Now the question is that too much overlap with what's going on in New Mutants? But I think Hickman's going to be super interested, again, because like Doug's been such a focus. We saw the techno-organic virus put into Krakoa way back in House of X #1. We know the Phalanx are coming. He's doing all this work within Powers of 10 that we have not visited since. I got to put Warlock on this team, because how else do we get Hickman to dig into and focus on the Phalanx and where all of that plot and thread is moving. Plus, I think Warlock's popular. I think he's a fan favorite too. So, like, yeah, Warlock's on my team.
Wow. Your team is so fun to look at. I think just visually, your team, at this point, I would read both of these books.
Yeah.
And I know that at the end of every Cyclops book, I'm going to be like, how did they make it through this? Killing each other.
Yeah.
At the end of the Jean Grey book, I'd probably be like, why am I crying?
Love it. Yeah, no, I think, so, all right. So if Marvel wants to give us a ring and bring us on as editor of a new X line, these are the squads, I think. So we got Team Jay, we got Team Dave. All right, let us know in the chat here, what do you think of these teams? Whose do you like? I think, Jay, definitely I've seen a lot of support for your team here in the chat as we've been talking, which understandably so. It is very fun. My team is strange and maybe a little dark, but I gotta say, I kind of like where I netted out. You know how like when you get to the end of a fantasy draft and it's like you have that, like you can either have like immediate regret or remorse. I don't feel any remorse right now. I feel like I did my thing.
I feel like your team. Well, if I look at your team, I like that team's battle experience a lot, like a lot, to the point where I get concerned, because that team is OP when it comes to like actual time in the trenches.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think like maybe it needs a little more balance in terms of like emotional stability. I don't know if the EQ quotient here is fantastic, but I'm happy with the power levels. And all right, so I've got a couple. Jay, I don't know. Do you have a hard stop? We've been going like an hour. Or do you have a few minutes?
No. I will. This is funny. I'll leave. I can 10, 15 more minutes. I can do whatever.
Okay, excellent. So let's answer some more super chats real quick. Thanks everybody for hopping in here. So we got our teams, all right? So we got our draft. Let us know what you think, but also if you want to get in your questions, super chat especially is extremely supported. It encourages me to keep doing these live streams, which are a lot of fun. They've been a ton of fun. I've been able to do them so far with a bunch of different cool guests. And Jay, I really appreciate you hopping on for this because, man, it's fun talking to new, interesting people. Yeah.
Dave, this is a dream. I'm thinking of like so who's delivering is it a magnetic fastball special on your team?
Ooh, yeah, right. I mean, you got the magnetic fastball special. Oh man, that's the thing that I didn't really even talk about is like the mutant synergies, right? The new way they're exploring these the mutant technologies. We got some fun options here.
I could also see that on my team with Polaris throwing Colossus as a wrecking ball.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like so there's probably like some sort of like mutant circuit between Danny, Jean, and let's see. What that'd be like a big telepathic or telekinetic thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that just did like the big kitty with Karma.
Yeah, right.
The
How about Surge running lightning speed into Blob, ricocheting off for even faster speed, and just doing a belly bounce attack? How about that?
Oh, I love that.
Oh man, I'm jealous of Blob on that team. He was definitely high on my radar. I love the opportunities here for Fred J. Dukes. Okay, so we have a question here. It says, "Now we need your Brotherhood of Evil Mutants team, please." Okay, so this, like the idea of evil mutants, which is again obviously just a comical Kirby and Lee name. It's so hard now because it is like it's that thing of like, okay, who are the mutants who are still just like, no, I want nothing to do with Krakoa. I'm doing my own thing, because obviously a whole focus, since House of X #5 is bringing the villains into the scene. I think like right now we know like Mikhail Rasputin has to be on the team, right? He's like one of the leading mutants that we've seen in the pages of X-Force, who is just like, yeah, I hate everything about Krakoa. I want nothing to do with it. I'm actually going to ally myself with mutant terrorists here in Xeno. So I think we got Mikhail. I mean, in terms of character, I mean, maybe Amal Farouk. I don't know what his deal is yet. Like, do we get Shadow King? Is he a positive or a negative influence on Krakoa at this point? I don't totally know. That could go a lot of different directions. I think it'll be fascinating to see. I could see one of the Shaws, or maybe Fenris. Actually, Fenris would be a good pick here.
Fenris are just evil.
They are pure evil, right? I mean, they are pure, real evil. They are on Krakoa, but it's like, how can you trust them? How can you trust them with anything,
Yeah. Omega Red is in a very interesting space, because Marvel's Vampire Corner, which Jason Aaron is also kind of playing with, or was playing with when that Avengers run, there was a whole like mini arc about vampires, and Omega Red is still involved in vampire shenanigans in X-Force, and kind of the clandestine organization that's getting Wolverine's blood so that they can use it, I guess, as SPF 1 million.
Right.
Omega Red is definitely in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is no longer. It can't just be what it's been for so long. These need to be people that are attempting to uproot Krakoa.
Right. Like, what are their goals here? Because in the past it's always just been like, make a case for mutant rights in a lot of ways. Like Mystique's version was like preventing Days of Future Past from happening. And ironically, like, that's kind of what caused it, is the way that story plays out. But then there's like Magneto's version is also just like, we're going to take over the island of Santo Marco and start a mutant haven. Well, guess what? That's where Krakoa is. So like, if you have a new lineup, you need a mission statement that explains why they don't trust Krakoa and why they don't like that for mutant kind. Which I've been talking about this a bunch. Like, I don't know that it needs to be quote unquote villains who do this either. Like, the counter Krakoa, which maybe is just Arakko at this point, but like the idea of Storm, for example, finding out something sinister about Professor X and Moira and starting her own mutant nation and being like, hey, they're doing it wrong, come to my world, or just, that's one far out there example. I feel like that's on the table, once revelations come to light. So yes, I think Brotherhood needs a very different purpose. I will also throw Solemn into the mix, the Arakko, the new Wolverine arch nemesis, because we don't know what Solemn's role is right now, and I feel like that character was really fun in Ten of Swords. I had him in consideration for this X-Men roster, but it's one of those things where it's like, you can't fit them all. I would like to see Solemn, maybe even as the leader.
And Solemn has proved that he does not care about anyone or anything except for himself.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that makes him, and that's kind of like, that's got to be part of this Brotherhood too. Is just like they have to be characters that just cannot understand community, that just cannot understand society, because otherwise they would see some of the appeal of a Krakoan nation. Thanks everybody here who has left questions, who has left chats. Debo the Black Panther writes, one of my favorite channels. Keep up the great work, Dave. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really love everybody hopping on these live streams. This has been great. We've had like 200 plus people for most of this, Jay, which is Pretty
That's
good
great.
for me. Yeah, I'm digging this, and lots of great commentary and comments going on, which is cool. Ryan Wilson asks in the super chat, new X-Men reader, because of retcons, are there any series I need to read first, or just read from X-Men 1 and work my way up? Jay, what do you tell people who want to get into X-Men? Where do you send them?
Oh, before House of X and Powers of 10, I would tell everyone Grant Morrison E is for Extinction. I don't want to see you any further back than that.
Yeah.
And then you have a couple of big arcs that you need to handle. But if you want to see some really cool storytelling about characters that are popular enough that you probably have a passing knowledge about them, start with EX for Extinction. Start with the Grant Morrison New X-Men 2001 run. The next thing that I tell people is that if you want to piece together like the larger puzzle, then you probably want to read the 3 big arcs about Hope and the Mutant Messiah.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then you have to do a little bit of supplementary reading that includes maybe not Avengers Disassemble, but at least House of M.
Yeah.
So it's that complicates things.
It does, right?
Then you can just start with House of X and Powers of 10.
Yes, I think that's a pretty good answer, honestly. It gives you background. I think, kind of like you said, if you have familiarity with X-Men, whether it's through the movies, whether it's through the animated series, whether that's Evolution, 90s, whatever your bag is, as long as you have some familiarity with these characters, you can hop into some of the slightly more complex runs, like Morrison's New X-Men, or even just Hickman's X-Men. I mean, one of the most common... First off, I just want to say, like, you don't have to run back to Uncanny X-Men #1. I would recommend against it, truly, because it's so hard to read all of that. It becomes homework, and most readers lose the pleasure of enjoying comics doing things that way. I see it a lot.
Unless you love the Changeling that much.
Yeah, no, specifically, right, exactly. Like there's some weird stuff. You don't need to read it all. If you like older comics, like if you have a feel for the history of the characters, then probably you do want to check out like 1975's Giant Size X-Men #1, and then that'll throw you into the Chris Claremont takeover. I would at least recommend reading that, which starts with like UXM #94 through probably issue number 137, which is the Dark Phoenix saga. If you read that, that's basically all Phoenix saga stuff. Tentpole stuff, super important. You get the Claremont Cockrum, Claremont John Byrne stuff. And then if you're like, I'm into this, keep rocking it. Check out the Claremont reading order on comicbookherald.com. It's a great way to dig through that because that'll get you all sorts of good stuff like the Uncanny X-Men, the New Mutants, kind of the foundations for the universe that we're talking about today. And then I would kind of take Jay's advice and be like, okay, now you can jump ahead. Like now you can jump to Morrison's New X-Men. There's stuff I like in between there, of course, but again, like, you'll never run out of stuff to read. Like I read a lot of comics at this point. I never run out of X-Men comics to read that I haven't read before. Or like you said, like even mutants that I don't know a ton about, which is super fun, and putting lists together like this where I'm like, man, like Tempo comes up in the fan vote. I didn't know a thing about Tempo. I'd seen the character before, but I had never really thought about it, which is a fun place to be because just the X-Men universe is so enormous. So good question, Ryan. Thanks for your support there. All right, Jay, I think we're in a pretty good place. I dig these lists, man. I'm putting these up. I'm excited to share them. I feel like these are pretty good teams.
These are really good teams, and we know kind of like the history of the way some people get upset with where comic books are quote unquote headed, even though Storm has been popular since 1975. So when we talk about comic characters of color, we talk about women in comics, and now we talk about explicitly queer characters in comics. These books are gonna look a little different, but that's great. That's what makes them so good.
Yeah.
And these lists like that and reflect that, and hopefully people who fall within those marginalized groups can also enjoy having a team that looks like them a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. No, I enjoy the different perspectives we're going to get out of these potential characters. And it's one thing I've really appreciated about the current Dawn of X lineup, is that concerted effort to give different varieties and different feels and different perspectives for each book too. Like the feel of X Factor is something I've talked about lately, and I was on a podcast yesterday. I was talking about this. Like Lee Williams and David Baldian, that book is representative of a queer communities in a way that I've never seen a Marvel comic do so overtly. I have truly never seen like that many different perspectives and types of relationships in a Marvel comic before, which is great. That's awesome. And it's like, like there's going to be different feels and different styles for different readers. Hickman's X-Men books are going to take on a totally different approach in its style of storytelling that is true to him as a storyteller, right, and as a creator. And I love that we have different variations on that in the X line, even if some of them aren't the ones that I'm the most into. That's how it goes. Like I love how different everyone's favorite X-Men book can be right now. Because that's actually a healthy place to be, to me, is when people have like very different personal favorites and different rankings. It speaks to the health of the line, I think.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What's your favorite ongoing right now, Jay? Before we let you go.
I'm a huge fan. Okay, this is before X Factor was established. I love the fact that Benjamin Percy kind of tricked me into loving X-Men.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was so thrown off. Even his take on Beast is not morally good, but so good to read.
Yeah,
that was something that I was not expecting. So that's a part of the line that really blew me away. I loved everything that was happening with New Mutants when they had parallel stories in space and on Earth. Mm-hmm. Focus a lot. Everyone's mad we didn't put Glob on the team, and I regret it. I felt like the New Mutants runs that were going concurrently so good. I'm trying to think of my another favorite book of mine. I love Hellions right now.
Yes,
because I like a good Suicide Squad-esque team. Who doesn't? And then X Factor. Aaliyah Williams, and this is full disclosure, like, I love her stuff, and as a queer, as a bi-black person, to see Prodigy, like, get to go crazy in a book, it's exciting. Yeah,
for sure. No, Prodigy's got a really interesting storyline coming, too. I'm very curious to see that explored more, because there's a lot of interesting teases in X Factor number 7.
While I'm wearing like a North Star shirt, so yeah.
It's and that's the thing I love about X Factor right now. Like, this is the most I've ever dug North Star as an individual character in this run. Like, I like his role on this team. I'm really interested to like learn more about this character now too, which is great.
It's been insane because North Star, I think it was the Austin run established him as like an instructor at the school.
Yeah.
And then we had the Fraction run in San Francisco. You put North Star in San Francisco and still kind of sidelined him. When I go, that he gets a mini solo run in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And now he's back leading a book, kind of as the leader of a team, which is really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So I love those picks. Awesome. Jay, it was super fun having you on today. I appreciate you taking the time and putting up with the weird technical difficulties that always come with doing these things live. But thanks so much for your time, man. This was super fun.
Thank you for having me, Dave. Everyone, follow Dave. Follow me on all social media. And I might even put some X-Men jokes on the next comedy album I do, so that'll be good.
Awesome. Yeah, I got a link to your Twitter in the show notes. So everybody check that out if you haven't before. But otherwise, yeah, you can follow me, comicbookherald.com. Check out Krakin Krakoa live and elsewhere on YouTube. Please subscribe and comment if you haven't already. I know a lot of you in the live chat have. So thanks so much, everybody. We're going to end the stream here. And have a fantastic rest of your, in the NFL terms, the Super Bowl weekend. I know this was the big event this weekend, but like, enjoy the Super Bowl as well. So, take care, all. All right, Jay, I am ending the stream.